while we're in the danger zone, think back, and you can go as raw and painful. Actually, I prefer that you go as raw and painful as possible. What was the biggest misstep you've made that has provided you with the greatest learning?
So my learnings are years just separated from my missteps, which I hate talking about because every human on earth says that. Well, there was
Hmm.
21 of us and we lived in a shoe. Like,
Right.
so I hate to compare that, and it just becomes like a pissing match for my life was worse than yours, but life was not good. I'll say that, and I did not know better than what my environment was. So I recall one time in my teens, I went to McDonald's to order a McChicken, very standard McChicken, and I wanted pickles on it. And I got through to the line and ordered my sandwich. They handed me the food. There were no pickles on it. And I took the sandwich and I threw it back through the window. I'm like, "You didn't have pickles, you son of a bitch!"
Oh,
I thought that was acceptable behavior for myself. It wasn't until years later I'm like, I am the stupidest person I have ever met. Like, for
wow.
that to be that important to me in that moment. And it was about a year and a half later, I worked in a grocery store, and one of my jobs was to pull out a giant racks of milk. I'd pull the milk out, and I would face rotate and fill the milk section with whatever milk in this small middle of nowhere town. And I go to pull it out, and there's a hump in the back area where we keep our stock, and the entire thing spills. Like 500 gallons pour out, make a
Oh,
whole mess of the whole place, and I'm like knee deep in milk, and my whole outfit is ruined. And I started laughing in that very moment, and I'm like, you know what? I was literally about to cry over spilled milk. I was literally about to do that. And why do I take this stuff so seriously? Like, all the terrible stuff in my life is so many years behind me. I can just laugh about it and move forward. It doesn't need to PTSD the rest of my life. And after
mm,
a lot of reflection, I was able to move forward from that.
nice. So during the reflection, did you journal? Did you have somebody in your life that you were able to share that with, like to release, let go of that trauma?
Well, the funniest thing for me is when the light bulb clicked and I went from being a degenerate teenager to a human being, is I had just sort of hyper focused on marrying my job.
Mm,
That's ultimately what I did. Was I decided I'm going to come at this harder than anything, and I'm going to solve every problem. I'm going to be the best one that there ever was at it because I sucked at so many other things growing up, and that's what I set out to do. And my life was very straight laced at that point. I had no room for gray. Everything was a black and white.
mm.
I can do this better than you. This is what I'm setting out to do. Let me climb the ladder, so to speak. And like I said, it wasn't until that experience at Clayton I was able to go, like, why am I approaching work differently than the rest of my life? Why?
Yeah.
Why would I ever do that? And mixing the two has probably been the greatest thing I've ever done.